What is media monitoring? Hi, I'm Aldric Toyad. Thank you very much for watching this video. Media monitoring is basically the activity where you would go through the printed media, flip from cover to cover, and identify each time your company, your product, your brand, or areas of interest to you are being covered in the newspaper. That's basically it. You're going through the newspaper, you're flipping it through, and you're seeing, oh, okay, this is relevant, this is not. This is about me, and this is not. So based on that, why I say relevant? Because sometimes some companies, some businesses, they don't just monitor news about them. Some organizations would like to monitor the industry movement. Why? Because it's a form of intel, if you will, a form of market intelligence. The more you can track the movement of other players, the more accurately you can predict or deduce where they're headed to. And it's not just competition, it's also innovation within the industry. Perhaps a new research, a new product was launched by someone operating in the same space in a different jurisdiction, or someone in the same jurisdiction in the same market, but not a direct competition. For example, if you're talking about construction, right? If you're running a construction company where you build houses, you build office buildings, of course you want to monitor what's happening, what are people saying, or what people are reporting about you. But you also want to see how home buyers, house buyers are behaving within a certain time frame. You would like to see how regulators are behaving or in a certain time frame. And even if when they're not competing with you, you want to know how banks are behaving as well, right? So certain publications, certain titles would offer certain insights. And going through this wealth of information helps the organization, helps decision makers make a more accurate decision, basically. So when you do media monitoring, that's it. That's essentially it. You go through, you flip through the newspaper, the magazine, you identify news or coverage that's relevant, that's of interest, and you quantify it. Quantification comes in many forms. The common one right now, which many are moving away from, is the PR value. Let me just quickly mention or explain what PR value is. PR value is measured based on the size of a space occupied by a coverage and comparing it with how much it would have costed the organization had it taken out or ran an ad within the similar size or similar dimension in that same paper. So for example, one of our newspapers here in Malaysia is The Star. If a news comes out and it occupies a space of say 3 by 4 inch, how much would that cost? Now remember that when it comes to publicity, it's often at the discretion of the editors, i.e. it's normally free, if you will, unlike advertising. So if you were to advertise on a 3 by 4 inch, how much would that cost normally? So that sum, that figure, is how many PR practitioners use to justify the ROI, the return on investment. So this activity generated this amount of publicity, which is equivalent to how much? Like I mentioned earlier on, this depends entirely on the circulation of that particular publication. What happens if people are not reading or not consuming it on paper? What if, like in my case, I consume news predominantly through Facebook? Whatever that appears in my timeline, based on my interaction with my friends, based on my search history, my behavior online, I will see that particular news or coverage. So would this form of exposure, this impression, be equivalent to, say, that article that was published? Now, we're trying to understand how to rationalize this phenomenon. Then you also have the other aspect of, well, we were talking about media monitoring. Now let me move a bit higher, if you will, or into a different space, social media monitoring or digital media monitoring. When you're talking about digital media monitoring, anything that is in public domain can be tracked by tools, by search engines, by search tools. There are many tools out there that are available. You have the likes of Meltwater, the likes of Essentia, the likes of Salesforce or Sales Studio. I can't remember what was once Radiant 6, right? So you capture and crawl and quantify the reaction, the share of voice, if you will, and then see how many people are talking about it, that particular issue, that particular topic. From there, one would quantify or one would decide what's the next course of action, whether the company would like to issue prepare a holding statement, would like to do a press conference, or just ignore the issue at hand. So the awareness, the extent. So you want to monitor. The reason why people monitor this is because they want to see how much people are talking about it, how far did it go, how long has it spread. Now, one-off events like say a product launch may not generate this big of a deal unless there is, it's sensationalized, just like say movie releases. It's not just about one person's review. You will have multiple people reviewing the particular movie, and then later you have coverage, interviews with the actors or something along those lines. So that's how the hype is built. Otherwise, often than not, usually it's done. Once published and it's gone. So you want to see the trail of that event. So media monitoring, coming back. So what is media monitoring? It's basically going through the media, going through whether it's social media or digital media or print media, seeing what are people saying about areas of interest. Then, this is just the first phase. The second phase is, of course, ascribing sentiments to it. Sentiment analytics are usually used to do this, and there's basically three broad categories: positive, negative, and neutral. Positive sentiment basically means that the coverage or the reaction/reception of the coverage is positive. It could be people praising the organization, people happy using the product. Then you have the other end of the spectrum, which is the negative sentiments. What are negative sentiments? Obviously, public complaints about an organization, investigation, news, for example, news on the investigation of the investigation by the authorities against your organization. That's a negative news out there. Product failures, again, negative coverage. I would like to propose, in certain areas, even reaction, negative reaction. Here's the thing, when it comes to social media, it's no longer just about whether the original content is positive. You also have to see how people are reacting to it. And many a times, a news is technically positive, but because of negative reaction, that news eventually becomes, negative. Or you can say, one would say, it neutralizes the effect, the positive effect of that news. The neutral ones are neither good nor bad. It's usually transactional. This is listed. Depending on which area you're sitting on, whether share prices, corporate news, stock prices are stagnant. So it's very, very subjective. How do we define positive, negative, neutral? At the end of the day, it depends on the domain. So once you monitor, you quantify, you ascribe sentiments, and that's how you know whether a week, a day, a month, a period was a good period in terms of publicity or a bad period in terms of publicity. So that's, in a nutshell, what is media monitoring. I briefly covered what is social media or digital media monitoring, and I also covered, after monitoring, what do you do? How do you make use of the data that you gather? Of course, moving forward, there are things that you can do based on the information gathered. If it's an operational problem that has been recurring over the past few months or years, it may be high time for operations. I mean, management needs to make the call. Management needs to say to operations, look, this area we need fixing, let's do something about it. It is not the responsibility, often it's not the responsibility of the comms, because again, business function, internal business function does not allow the comms department to come in, or even the marketing department to come in. Yeah. So if you have any other questions, if you'd like to share an opinion, do leave a comment in the comment section down below. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much once again. I'm Aldric Toyad. I hope you have a great day ahead. Bye.